So today we're going to address a really big concern people have when they're speaking English as a second language and they try to sound more natural, and they know that they get told that you shouldn't be over-pronouncing everything and you need to sound more natural and need to connect words together and you need to sound a bit lazier. And they get told all these things, or they kind of tell themselves all these things, but they have this lingering doubt in their mind. They think, yeah, but I'm going to be less understood if I do that. I worry that if I just bring my words together and try and be lazier with my speech, people are not going to understand me. They'll understand me far less. So why bother? Instead, I'm going to make sure I clearly pronounce everything, and in that case, I'm going to be much, much better understood. And I'm here to tell you that this is a huge misconception, because in fact, it's not just true that getting lazier with your speech, which by the way is the topic of this series. This is a series of videos about lazy speech and the patterns of lazy speech. But doing this laziness thing is not just okay. It's not just going to make you sound more natural and it's okay because native speakers do it. It's not just that. It will actually make you more clear. Yes, being lazier with your speech will make you clearer and understood much more often. At least when it comes to this particular sound, which is the whole topic of this series, that is certainly true. So you'll find out why by checking out this video. So here we go, let's get started. So here we go. So far, this video series has given you one phrase per video to summarize a whole set of patterns that include a lazy sound. Okay, so when I show you these examples from the previous videos, it's just one phrase per video, one phrase per set of patterns, which represents that set of patterns. When you listen to these phrases, notice how lazy I'm being in my speech with the highlighted parts, the patterns you see in these phrases. Notice how lazy I'm going to be in the highlighted parts. Check them out.
Connect completely. A useful but immoral label. Perhaps I forgot. I suppose it's a success. Open season. The husband's moment of action.
So do you see what I mean? The highlighted parts represent the lazy syllables, and actually, would it surprise you that all the examples I just showed you, actually all of them contain one vowel sound? Yeah, despite the variation in spelling, it's always just in all those examples. So go back and listen again if you're not sure, but they really, really are the same sound. It's a lazy sound we don't really stress in English, called the schwa vowel sound. The lips are relaxed, the sound is short. Go back to the first video to check out the whole context and a full examination and description of the schwa sound, why it's important and how it can help you. But essentially, we're talking about lazy speech, and today's pattern will be no different. So today's pattern is called a believable estimate. A believable estimate. Yeah, so the A in believable, and many words like it, profitable, reasonable. The A in that word is a schwa, it's a lazy sound. I'm not saying able. Yeah, the word able is different. I'm not saying able, reasonable. No, I say reasonable. Yeah, and I don't say, at least in this case, I don't say estimate or estimate, I say estimate. We'll explain more about the differences there later on in this video. But for now, just know that if I say, can you give me a reasonable estimate? Yes, it should be lazy. There should be a schwa vowel sound in this phrase. So more words like believable, yeah, profitable, we have reasonable. We have more words like estimate too. We have words like accurate. Yeah, and private. Can you hear? I'm not saying accurate and private. I'm saying accurate and private. Okay, so that's lazy. And that's what I encourage you to do. Not just to sound natural, but yes, to be clearer. So why is this? Why am I saying that in order to be more clearly understood, you need to make these parts of speech lazier? You would think, your instinct would say the opposite should be true. So here's why. Think of it this way. Take the word profitable as an example. Okay, so the first syllable is the stressed syllable. profitable. Now, what you're doing, picture what's going on in the listener's mind, in the mind of the person listening to you when you're saying a word, syllable by syllable. What their brain is doing is they're opening up a file to figure out what you're saying, to get a reasonable estimate, to get a reasonable idea of the likelihood of what the word is that you're saying based on the syllables as they're coming into their ear, as they're coming into their consciousness. So profitable, as soon as I say pro, their brain and their mind can hear that, and they hear a stressed pro with a fully formed vowel sound, and their brain opens up the file of words that begin with pro, or words that contain pro, that's stressed. And luckily for us, the word profitable is in that file. We can find it there amongst other words with pro in them. And all their ear needs is a little confirmation when I say profitable. Every subsequent syllable I say is further confirming that yes, we've opened up the right file, we're on the right track. Both you as the speaker and them as the listener are running down the same track or opening up the same file, whatever visual metaphor you want to bring into mind, but you're both working together, and it's working smoothly in terms of them decoding what you're saying. Now, what if you, in an effort to sound more clear, said profitable? That's more clear, right? Because I'm saying profitable. Every part of speech is clear and they can decode the word more clearly, right? Well, no, because as soon as you say pro, they've opened up the pro file, but then you say te or a table, and suddenly they're opening up the te file, and they're looking for words containing te, or even they're looking for types of tables. Profitable. And it makes them kind of doubt how they interpreted the first syllable you said, the pro. It makes their mind doubt whether they were right in opening up that file in the first place. That was the right one. Pro. That's the pro file is the right file to open in this case, but they're doubting themselves. Of course, this is all happening mostly unconsciously and in a split second, very quickly in the listener's mind, but it might manifest itself. You might just see this in their reaction to how you're speaking. You might just get a blank look. They might tune out with what you're saying. It's not intentional. They're not being rude by tuning out. It might just be because their brain is burning too many calories. Picture their desk, right? They've got files open here and there and here and there. The more parts of speech you are overstressing, simply by using a more fully formed vowel sound rather than the schwa, the more you're doing that, the more files they're opening on their desk. Their desk is littered with open files and they don't know where to look. Now, sometimes they might even think, like I say, with table, they might even think you're saying a completely different word. Or if you say profitable, like that, they might think tab. Let's open up the tab file. Words like tab, words containing tab. Or where am I looking here? What did they say? But you want to avoid that, and you can help yourself avoid that decoding problem in the listener's ear when you're speaking. You can avoid that by using the schwa more often. How do we do that? Well, the schwa is very inconsistently spelt. That's why I'm showing you these spelling patterns. So learn a believable estimate. That's the phrase you have to learn. And then that unlocks loads more words that are like it. And if you make those lazy, then hopefully you can gradually change your speech into making it more selectively lazy, in order that your listener can simply open up the right file and not be distracted by the other syllables you're saying. Not be distracted by other things which are suddenly sounding too stressed. So that's the idea. The main message is this. If you want to sound more clear when you're speaking, it is helpful to use the schwa vowel sound because it helps you avoid distracting your listener and your listener's brain when they're decoding what you're saying. Okay, so when you listen to these sentence examples in a second, I'd love you to listen almost like, the visual version of this is if I'm sitting very still and suddenly I do that, your eye is drawn to my hand, right? Because there's a change. So when you're listening to these sentences, I invite you to listen out for the stressed parts. Just listen to those parts you hear the speaker really stressing, and notice that is what happens. notice that your ear is drawn, just like your eye is drawn to my hand, your ear is drawn to the stressed parts and drawn away from the weak and lazy parts. When you check out these sentences, just have that kind of perception in mind when you're listening. And then I'll give you some exceptions, including an answer to that question you might have in your mind about, hang on, I've heard people say estimate. Yes, people do sometimes say estimate. I'll show you why in a second. There is a pattern there. But check out these sentences, listening out for the stress and how your ear is really guided towards those stressed syllables.
She gave usable and accurate estimates of how much private investment was needed. She gave usable and accurate estimates of how much private investment was needed. Unbelievable. The postcode's wrong. If it's appropriate, do you mind sending your coordinates? Unbelievable. The postcode's wrong. If it's appropriate, do you mind sending your coordinates?
Yeah, I did hear that. And really, when you're speaking them, when you're repeating them, aim to do that. Aim to spend loads of time and put loads of weight and emphasis on the stressed parts, and then just be nice and lazy with the other parts. Yeah, use this schwa vowel sound in the highlighted parts of these words. So why do we say estimate but estimate? Well, really, estimate is a verb, and that's the pattern. Yeah. So if I have a noun or an adjective, like, can you send me the estimate? This is a believable estimate. That's a noun. Yeah. So what tends to happen is I use a schwa. Yeah. So those follow the pattern I'm showing you today, the schwa pattern I'm showing you. Yeah. Estimate. Yeah. Instead, the exception would be the verb. Can you please estimate the cost for me? Yeah. I need to estimate the price of this. I say mate at the end on the verbs. So another example would be, can you send me your coordinates? A noun, coordinates. It's lazy schwa that follows this pattern. Exception would be, I'm coordinating a new project. Coordinate, yeah. To estimate, to coordinate, yeah. So to administrate would be another example, yeah. Administrate is a verb. So for the verbs, I tend to say ate with a fully formed mouth shape, but I don't stress it. Many people make this mistake. Many people who speak English as a second language say, I'm estimating this, yeah. I'm coordinating a project, and they're stressing that ate. We don't actually do that. We say, I'm estimating. I'm coordinating. Yeah, so the stress comes much earlier than you might think. There are many languages which have similar words to these because we have, similar origins. Our language and your language might have a similar origin, which means you have the word estimate pretty much in your language. And very often in other languages, the stress might come a bit later and cause you to stress it incorrectly. I'm estimating, but we don't do that. We say, I'm estimating. So that's the pattern. The reason you hear ate or mate at the end of these words, sometimes it's because they're verbs, and those are exceptions to this believable estimate set I'm showing you, where they're lazy. So if you want to have a better picture of all this, the best place to go is my website. There's a link which takes you directly to word examples, just like believable and estimate, sentence examples as well, which give you an idea of the rhythm of speech, and exceptions as well. So words, sentences, exceptions, all with audio. Check that out by going to my website, link in the description, and make sure you don't miss the next video on my channel. Keep subscribed and hit the bell notification icon. And finally, if you want some personal help or just to explore more, go to accent.coach, and I'll see you in the next video.